Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pivot Point with Usha. Today we have Gautam Garg, who is running Trycon. He has done over $2 million in annual recurring revenue. People think what can be done with QR codes, but he has built a really great business out of it. Let's hear from the expert himself.
Thank you so much, Usha, for having me here. It's a pleasure to connect with you again. It's been some time since I last saw you, so it's really good to see you again.
Yes, absolutely. It's always a pleasure listening to you and trying to understand what you're building now, what problems you are solving right now. Because every time we are talking, even if it is space or teams, you're always figuring out something.
That's true. I feel I'm a problem solver, so I love problems. So yeah.
Great. I think that is one of the things that I have seen in founders. They are always with a mindset that I need to solve a problem, even if it is personal, professional.
That's true, and I would say it becomes a habit over time, right? So even if at a personal level, if your wife says that, "Hey, I'm having this problem," the mind quickly jumps to, "Oh, I need to solve this. I'm going to help her solve it," and that backfires a lot of times. It becomes a habit for sure.
Yeah. Perfect. So, I would love to understand where we are at Tricon and what we are doing right now.
Trycon is a B2B SaaS company. We offer B2B SaaS products related to QR code technology that helps businesses with engaging with their customers better, you know, through either promotional use cases or operational use cases. We have essentially three products right now that we're focusing on. Scanova is our flagship product. Scanova is a QR code management tool, and this was the first product that we started with. Then over time, we've also introduced ticket generator, which is for event organizers. They can set up event ticketing for their events using ticket generator. The tickets also feature the QR code, which is why it's part of our portfolio. Then our latest product is called QR Mark. It's a document verification tool. So it helps institutions and businesses add a layer of verification on their documents that they generate so that anybody can verify the authenticity of those documents. So these are the three products that we are offering, and they are at very different stages. So it's also fun to approach each of them differently, right? But yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. And it's been 12 years. We are 100% bootstrapped right now. And we have a team of about 45 people.
Right.
Yeah, that's about Tricon.
Okay, that's quite a journey since 12 years, and now there are three divisions inside it. I think now you're dealing with three products inside Tricon.
When you start and let's say one product succeeds, right? Sometimes my friends ask me, ki, "Oh, are you still working with Scanova?" You know,
Yeah.
and so there's this thing that why are you not starting something different, or why are you not doing what's next, right? So I feel, sometimes why do I have to get out of this environment and do something fresh or new? For me, that is building a new product, right? So
Mm.
once we start making money out of a first product, and our innovation cycle is like our customers tell us, hey, this is good, but can your product also do this? And then we feel, okay, it can't do that. And what you're asking is a totally different product, but we can build it and we have the money. So we built the second product, then we built the third product, right?
Right.
And so that's think of it as these are my new startups within my company, right? So you still sort of tend to start every few years, right? Even though it's been 12 years since we've been doing this.
So with one product, and I tell you from talking to a lot of founders that even working on one product is so much. How do you actually, one is listening to the customer that you said you are actively listening to them and making those decisions on whether you want to build that product upon the suggestion or not. But when you actually think, no, now the one product is stabilized and now you can move to another product.
I don't think a product ever stabilizes. Every product is growing at a certain pace, right?
Yeah.
Even in our Scanova, we're still adding new features every week, right? Because our customers are demanding those features, right? I think what works is building structures, right? We have a structure in place for each product. There's a dedicated team that works for the product. In each department, we have a dedicated member for that product. Let's say for product management department, we have a dedicated APM just for that product, right? So we've built those structures, and that I feel works. These structures have enough autonomy to function like a startup within the company, right? Which is why I would say that we are investing in new products because we can, right? But I wouldn't say that we've moved on from one product. We're still investing heavily on all three.
Okay, so basically you, I would not say stabilize, but enough time spent on sales, marketing, R&D and D and tech and all these aspect of a product. And then when you have all the people taking care of it, you know, revenue is coming at certain pace and then you just go on to another one.
So for each product, we do have different stages. Initially, it's only investment. Then we look at revenue, like how much revenue is that product able to generate, right? Then we move into profitability. And once the unit economics is in place, then we make it sort of autonomous within the company. And we, as a company, I look at metrics about that product more than to sort of get into the I do get into it, but still, than to focus a lot of everyday things that are happening at my lab, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, that is how we are able to continuously invest in more product. There's another experiment that we're doing with the fourth one. We don't know how it'll go, but we continue to do that. In fact, we've recently started investing a lot in experiments and building a culture around experiments, and we are involving all team members around it, where anybody has the power to pitch an idea. If it feels, it has some value, then we give them the time and opportunity and resources to actually build it themselves. We're doing that also actively now.
And what would you suggest to people right now? We come across such founders who have ideas, and even before starting, they want to raise funds. They want someone else to bet on their idea even before they have spent or done anything on that.
Right, because I feel because they've read a lot, they go to events and they see a lot of VCs. I think they don't understand what happens behind the scenes, right? So most VCs will invest in you, but first, I think they expect you to invest in yourself first. Are you willing to put your time and money without pay in this product or in this idea? Or are you just looking to ride this startup wave and, like, do you just want to call yourself a founder, have money in the bank and do flashy things? Is that what you want to do? They really want to see you grind first, right? Like, and get some traction. Like at that time when we raised fund, we had what, like 10,000 rupees of sales. But that was something. We had our early customers. That is the minimum they expect, that you've got your first 10 customers and your product works. You just need a runway. So that's what a seed fund is for, that you need another year or two just to acquire more, right? Customers, but it works. So they need at least that. I remember an entrepreneur I know, they went to Sequoia Capital and they had everything like a product and zero customers. And Sequoia said, you have a tech product, it was for some real estate use case. You have
Yeah.
a tech product, everything, you have an app, everything, but you have zero customers. They said, and I remember this today also, it doesn't matter what technology you have. What matters is, do you have a solution to a problem? I don't care if you solve the problem using Excel, right? But I need you to have customers first who are ready to adopt that solution that you have. Later on, when at scale, you can convert it into an app so that more people can use it, right? But first, do the grind, use Excel, use documents, whatever you want to use, do it manually, but find customers to your solution, right? So I think it's good also that, if you're going to take, I think it's just good integrity to just prove your idea first than to take somebody else's money and then burn it, right? I
Yeah.
remember, I also feel that people should understand, most founders should understand, and this insight was given to me by Shekhar Kirani, who's from Axel Partners, right? He was taking a playbook session, the roundtable session, and he said, everybody, all founders have to understand that not all startups are investable, but that doesn't mean that founders cannot make money, right?
Yeah.
There's a way that investors raise their own money, and there's a specific percentage of returns that they need to provide to their investors. So they are looking for unicorns, and that can potentially give them whatever that number is, 100x. They know the maths that most of their investments will fail, and but one of them has to become a unicorn and give them that 100x, and that will give them a return for all their investments and the expected returns to their own investors,
Yeah.
right? And for that, the TAM, total addressable market for that product or industry, has to be really high to be able to generate 100x,
Yeah.
right? So they can only invest in certain startups or products where the TAM is really high, right? That doesn't mean the product you are building may have a lower TAM, but you can easily become very profitable in that product and you can make a lot of money. But don't
Yeah.
expect funding, right? Because they can't make money out of that. I think that was a really good insight because that sort of validated that, funding is one approach and it only works if everything fits. But that doesn't mean bootstrapping is not a good approach. Zoho is a bootstrapped company and they are sort of like the top B2B SaaS company in India right now.
Yeah.
Still bootstrapped, right? VWO or Wingify, they were
Yeah.
bootstrapped. They just sold their company for 200 billion, right? All bootstrapped. So I think founders should be cautious of why are they raising funds, right? They should think about it.
In the workspace, everyone used to ask because your culture was so good and it was solid that people used to ask for references if they can be connected to Gautam because they wanted to join your company. And can you talk about culture, how anyone set it at the initial level or once they are, let's say, 20 people in place? Because I think you have cracked it.
Right. So, I worked for 3 years at a research and consulting firm. That was my only job experience, right? So when I started, I'm not sure if I actively built any culture. I feel we ended up creating an environment which I could also work in, right? I like focused work, right? But then I like to take my own breaks. And I don't like anybody micromanaging me, so I don't like to micromanage anybody, right? So I think the environment sort of built itself because so that I could fit into that environment. Otherwise, I feel I'm a balanced, fair person. So I cannot say that, oh, I don't like to be micromanaged, but I'm going to micromanage them. I can't do that, right? As a person. So, so I think over time, that's how we built it, right? Because I like to play games. So we started game events. I like to go on trips and travel. So we now take our team members twice a year on trips. I like to try new things. We give opportunities and challenges to our team members so that they can also experiment. I think it just happened naturally. Cultures of startups and companies are formed by who the founders are and what they want and how they want to see running. And I think even though we were working in India, because I worked in an American MNC before this, I took a lot of things from there also, like respecting everybody as individuals, their time and everything. So I think there's a lot of aspects to culture. I think it is more because that is who I am and how I wanted my work environment.
I think these are your foundational values that also reflect in your culture.
I would say that I was not doing it consciously, it just happened.
Yeah.
It
That separates people and their culture because it just reflects how the founder is.
So I'll give you a small, like what used to happen is uh, at our co-working space, right? So every day at 5 o'clock, I want to have tea. So I would go to the cafeteria and have tea. And then I would just call everybody, hey, let's go for tea. And they would go there. And then I don't like to sit idle. So I would just talk to everybody. Right. And later somebody would tell me, those 5 o'clock conversations that we used to have, those were some of the best times that we had. Like nobody does this. Right. So it was very unintentional. It was just something that I used to do. But somehow that shaped culture of our company, right? I still go out at 5 to have tea and I call everybody. We play games also. You've seen that happen.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they're just treating employees as humans and thinking about that they would also need break, like how we need it.
I have the confidence that they will take care of the work on their own. So I don't need to push them to work. I trust them enough to work themselves and take care of their responsibilities.
Yeah.
But I just take them to tea because I want to have tea with somebody and I don't want to sit alone.
That takes me to the point where you said you have worked at another company at an MNC before, and would love to understand how that went and what made you actually think about starting your own company.
I graduated in 2010 from Delhi College of Engineering, which is now DTU. And then I joined a company called Grail Research. It was a research consulting firm. I worked for about 3 years, both in India and South Africa. I was connected to, I would say, entrepreneurship in general. In college, also, I was part of this society called ASES, which was Asia Pacific Student Entrepreneurship Society. We had gone to both China and Stanford University as part of the society. I was surrounded by entrepreneurs through this. And my brother was an entrepreneur, right? My senior from college, who was like my mentor, he became an entrepreneur. So I was surrounded by them, right?
Yeah,
And I was lucky because of that, to be honest. And because during my 3 years, I felt, even though I was doing a job and it was all good, but I just felt that I could do so much more in job structures. It takes a lot of time to get to a place where you have decision making powers, because I've always felt that, oh, the company can do this, oh, the company can do that, but I'm too junior to have a say in the company, right? So
yeah,
I felt that even if I switch, it'll be the same problem. It will just be a different company. So I thought the best place where I can exercise my potential was to start, right? And again, I had the confidence because people around me were starting at that time, right? So I just quit my job. I didn't even have a plan. I did have some plan. So I just quit my job and went with that plan, found, talked to my friends from college, found my co-founders, right? And then the plan that we initially that I had thought was thrown into the dustbin in the first two meetings because it was very capital intensive.
yeah.
So it was my co-founder actually who suggested that why don't we think about QR codes? That was a relatively very new technology at that time. This was 2013 I'm talking about.
Okay.
And that fascinated all of us. And we thought, yeah, let's just get into it. And we initially wanted to get into tourism with QR codes. We thought we could replace audio guides at monuments with QR codes. We started building towards that initially. 1 or 2 weeks before we were about to release it, I saw this article in the newspaper that there's a company called Audio Compass that had signed up with ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, to do the exact same thing. And ASI was the only potential customer we had for this if we had to do it in India. So we did a pivot over there. And we thought instead of focusing just on tourism, we will
Mm.
make a generic QR code generator that anybody could use. Right. So that's where we took a pivot. There was also a detour that we took and we started building another non-profit startup called Zero Crime, which was crowdsourced crime information so that we could rate neighborhoods on how safe they are. That information could be used by other applications and for people, right?
Interesting.
It was an incident that somebody snatched somebody's phone and then they didn't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
We quickly realized that nobody was interested in it because it couldn't make any money and we didn't have funds to actually build it. So we discarded, we thought, okay, let's make a for profit when company first. With the money that we make, we will invest in non-profit things.
Mm.
Let's build ourselves first before we start helping others, right?
Yeah.
So then that's where we start focusing on Scanova, right?
Mm.
We released the product in around May 2014, and I think within a month we got our first customer, which was a good validation for us, right?
Yeah.
And we got few customers, and then we were reaching out to investors. We were part of the NASSCOM's 10,000 startups, and we started getting interest and raised a seed round in 2015 in
Okay.
February. They were Hyderabad based, so we moved to Hyderabad for 6 months. We lived out of an apartment. We worked there 60 hours a week, and that was a turning point for us. right? I would feel, because even though they gave us money, it was not a lot, but still, they gave us money. We didn't actually end up using it because we were running on customer revenue. There was one thing that we did that really changed things for us. So we started out as a freemium model. Scanova was a, like, you could have a free plan and there were paid plans,
Yeah.
but we had ended up giving a lot for free, right? A lot of users were using us for free. The investor told us, why are you giving all of this for free? As founders, you have to put food on the table, right?
Yeah.
So make it free trial. If they can try it for free, but they have to pay if they want to use it.
Yeah.
We were worried that we'll lose our users, but that actually worked in our favor. The moment we switched, even users who were using us for free, they started paying us because they could. It was just us who were undervaluing our product. We were not asking for money, right?
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
immediately saw a lot of subscriptions. That was a turning point. So, we were growing both in customer and revenue
Mm.
relatively. But then, and we moved back to Delhi, NCR, in October. My co-founders were still not very satisfied with the growth. And I
Yeah.
think everybody's, when they move into startups, everybody has this idea in mind. Movie Social Network had just come out, and everybody wanted to be Facebook and wanted to go viral and make a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think they thought that we're not going to make a lot of money out of this. We're going to get some subscriptions, this and here and there, but
Yeah.
this is not something that's going to work. So they eventually exited around early 2016. They were still shareholders, but as directors, they exited. And at that time, we had just one team member, and for some reasons, she also had to exit. So essentially, I was left alone at that point. This was a tech company that only had a non-tech co-founder. I was handling everything except for coding. That's when I moved to a co-working space and built a team again. I hired my first three teammates,
Yeah.
uh, including technical people, right? So, and that's where we sort of built it again from there, right? So that's
Think
my
it takes
journey
of
till.
strength and a lot of strength when you are just alone. There are so many problems. You do not have people with you to build it. And I have seen a lot of people just quit at that time because there is no one, and it takes a lot of strength and courage to restart.
I would I wouldn't say that I did not think about it, right? The three of us also went to another successful founder. We spoke to them. I think the point was that for me, I had no evidence that this was going to fail, right? We had raised investment. We had not used it. We were running on customer revenue, which meant that we were profitable. Our customer base was growing month on month. Our revenue was growing month on month. In absolute numbers, it was not viral, but it was growing. So I had no
Yeah.
reason to quit. I had support from my family. And so I decided, "Okay, I don't have any evidence, so I'm not going to quit. I'm going to see how it goes." The other part was they were coders and they were good coders, right? And so they were getting good at that time, there was like big boom from Grofers, if you remember, MG, all of these startups were coming up. So they were handing out good packages also, right, to good
Yeah.
coders. So they were getting good jobs, right? And I, being a non-tech guy, I was in research and consulting for 3 years. I did not want to go back there. So I also had this problem. What am I going to do if not this, right? So I thought,
Yeah.
let's give it a shot. So I just took that call. Okay, I'm going to try it out. Let's see what happens. The
Yeah.
business was me at that time. So I wouldn't
Mm.
say it was strength. I would just say it was a calculated move.
Yeah. And after that, I heard that you then returned investors' money and then you built it on your own. So, how difficult was it, to get the initial customers and then grow from there and solve the hiring bit as well, hiring the right people? Because initially it's extremely important to get the right people in place.
Absolutely. So I'll talk about hiring first because there's a story around it. When you're the only founder left and the only person left in the entire startup, hiring your first two to three people is very difficult. Everybody wants a stable paying job. They want to work for startups, but they don't want to work with one founder startups. They want to work for funded good startups. I was hiring freshers at that time, and I remember there was this one candidate for UI UX designer. She was pretty good, and I made her an offer. I saw her talent, and she was actually applying for a different role, but I told her, you're good at design, you should do UI UX designing, and I'm willing to give you that job. She really wanted to join. She was just out of college. And trust me, I had such an issue convincing not her, her family to make her join the company, right? So her family said no, don't join this. This doesn't sound like a real company. I had to send them metrics that look and a graph that look, this is how revenue is growing, right? And her father sent that data to some uncle in Sipla, and he said, no, it just looks like a very small startup, don't join. Then I had to send him an email that please let her join. And then she also they also the family also consulted some Baba, right? That
Okay.
and then eventually she did join. The first day her father came to drop her, he took a round of the office to just to see that's a real thing. And that's how she made it to office first day. So that's just one story, of how difficult it can be to set up your first. She stayed with us for a good 2, 3 years, I would say. Right.
With it, like your follow-ups to the parents and then
Choice. If I wanted a team members, I was ready to, talk to anybody. Just give me that talent that I need because I can't do everything on my own. That was about hiring. It was difficult, but co-working spaces really help because
yeah,
when people come to a co-working space to give interviews, everybody judges what sort of environment they're going to work in, and
yeah,
co-working spaces really provide that. A lot of times when they join, they they tell me, "Oh, I didn't know you were such a small company. I thought this entire co-working was yours." You know. So later on, I had to make it very clear to them before they joined that we are these many people. This is a co-working space. These are all little stories from difficult things that we had to do. Sometimes it's also difficult to get good talent
mm,
because we are we're working on very little investor money. So we had to do was sometimes compromise on experience level and hire freshers or lower experienced people. But
yeah,
then what we invested in was nurturing them, right? We gave them time, we gave them resources, we helped them, we gave them good opportunities, good projects to work on, right?
yeah,
So much so that, somebody who had joined in as a full stack developer is leading the engineering of an entire product now, right? And they're still with us. That's the opportunity we gave people because we nurtured them over time.
yeah. And I think that is also one thing that a lot of founders might not pay attention to, the nurturing bit. Like hiring is one, but actually spending a lot of time on that, you expect some reciprocation there where the person would actually stick for that long being loyal. But I mean, I think it's both ways on what kind of people you hire.
I completely agree. People also have a career, right? So when they join, they want good compensation, they want to work on good projects and learn a lot,
Yeah,
right? I always say that, if so, my job is to ensure that I'm able to compensate them well, plus give them great learning opportunities, right? That's my job as a company. If I cannot do that, then I cannot expect loyalty from them, right? Because they have no reason to. If learning, for example, is stopped for a year or two, right? I would then probably recommend to them, look, maybe you should move on because I am not able to provide those opportunities. In
yeah,
most cases, I would say I it's tough for me to see somebody go, but if it's the right thing for them, it's the right decision for them,
yeah.
I sort of encourage them to do it. Like, fine, do your thing. And what I've seen is people who have exited, they come back after they spent a couple of years outside. So that has also happened to us thrice. So that validates that
For sure.
we are doing some things right.
Yeah, that says a lot about um, what kind of work they have there, what kind of experiences they have that they want to come back to it.
We've always maintained, and this was part of our core values, that we're going to have a good life,
Yeah,
that we're going to enjoy the work that we're doing, and we'll do challenging work.
yeah,
But then when we're not working, we're also going to ensure that we have a good life, which meant that we have enough time for personal life, right? We used to invest a lot in learning and development, which meant not your standard skill set, communication, and all that.
Yeah.
Things like fine dining, for example. We took a session on, we got an expert to teach us how to do fine dining because
Interesting.
nobody teaches you these things, right?
Yeah.
These help team members who have come from different backgrounds to learn things they would never get an opportunity to learn, or
Yeah.
they would probably get it very later in life. Right? We should invest every month one session like this. We should do it.
And so, what made you decide that you would now not want to raise funds and would continue with just the revenue that you are getting and growing the company from there on?
Yeah. So when we raised revenue, we used some of it in the beginning, but when we moved to that free trial model, we really started getting good subscriptions. We ended up not using a lot of their money, but because it was a seed round and we didn't know a lot about term sheets, so there was a lot of restrictions because of investors. For example, a simple restriction was I could not decide how much I'm going to pay myself. It was decided by the investor, right? Even though we were making good money as a company, there was a limit to how much I could earn as a founder, right? So eventually, when we did give, we gave them an exit 5 years. So it was a 5 year term sheet, and we were required to give them a return after 5 years. We bought back all their shares and we gave them a good 25% IRR, right? And we gave them an exit. And I think at that time, when we did give an exit, it was a really good feeling at that point because it was a feeling of freedom, I would say. Although investors were pretty good, they never meddled a lot in what we did,
Yeah.
but the term sheet was complicated, so they could if they wanted to. Beyond that, like I said, we've always been profitable. We have run on customer revenue. So till date, we've not felt the need to raise again, right?
Yeah.
And we have more control over the decisions that we make. For example, we were doing CSR also, right?
Okay.
So now we were spending decent amount there also, but now that decision was the company's, right? That we want to do this,
Mm.
right? But if I feel, and that's again my assumption, if I feel that if there's an investor, they might not allow it,
You do
right?
it. Yeah.
So I think the culture is also there because we have full control, right? The
Mm.
culture that we talked about. But again, like I said earlier, I'm not averse to raising funds. I think funds should be raised when it matters, or when it's the right time, or when the company really needs it to
Yeah.
grow and you figured out why you need it and where you're going to put it, right? Then it makes sense to do it. And I'm not saying, and I'm saying there are very good VCs out there who really help you solve many problems very quickly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Journey with mentors and VCs, right? It's much slower in a bootstrapped environment because you have to figure out everything yourself,
Yeah.
and networking is difficult relatively. It's much slower, but you do have freedom, more freedom.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
And I
which
think,
is why it's not raised. Yeah.
yeah. For the investors bit, I think initially at really early stages, a lot of founders are aware that they have to get a professional advice on the term sheet that they are signing because honestly, even with ChatGPT, we might not understand all the clauses out there.
So I actually did consult one of my friends who was a professional corporate lawyer, and she outrightly told me, don't sign this, right? But at that time, we were very nascent stage. And if we didn't get that money, my co-founders would have quit very early. So I did it just to save the company at that point of time. I gave in and I said, the terms don't matter to me because it's either this or we shut down. So might as well take the risk. So I took that risk at that time. I did consult and she told me
Oh,
no.
so you had an advice not to go ahead. But I think that money and at the right moment when you have to choose between surviving and that money, then obviously you choose that, right?
Yeah.
You always want to survive and then figure out how you can give a proper exit to them, how you can talk to them, maybe get some clauses revised or do whatever. But first is the survival.
Absolutely. I think the tediousness and burden to start again from scratch
Yeah.
makes you take a lot of decisions and allows you to take a lot of risks. Okay, I can't go and start again. I need this to work right now. So let's just go ahead and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? So as founders, we do that a lot.
And being a single founder and I can understand because there is not another person that you can just bounce off your ideas or, talk when you are not so motivated. How did you actually still keep the, bus running?
It was difficult to discuss things with my team members, right? So we have a structure where we've created departments, and there are department heads who are like managers, right? So whenever there's something, I discuss it with them, right? I do sometimes create committees also, like get a group of smart people I know from the company. If I'm struggling with a decision, or if I'm sometimes I struggle with decisions, especially if I don't know the pulse of the team or the people, because I am working in a very isolated environment, right? So I consult them and we take a calculated decision. Even though I don't have co-founders now, I really rely on my senior team members and even junior ones. And we do keep having events where we ask everybody in the company, all hands meeting, to share their opinions and ideas and even criticize whenever they can. It's a very healthy environment for all of this discussion. So I get most of my ideas and everything from, I consult with my team
That's
a lot.
that's
It
really great.
works. It works. But having said that, I also feel sometimes there is a gap. I do feel that I need a mentor who I can go to who is way more successful than I am. I'm sure they've faced the same problems that I have faced, just so that I can figure it out faster.
And I think with the community of like-minded founders like you, and also some senior folks, veteran folks who have already done it multiple times and has helped a lot of other founders as well. I think that really helps when you just talk to the like-minded folks.
Absolutely. I'll be honest, I am part of this B2B SaaS community in India, right? Called SaaS Boomi, right? Every year they have an annual thing in Chennai, right? It's a great learning experience. And I have mixed feelings those 3 days. One is I get to learn a lot
Yeah.
because everybody's facing similar problems. I talk to them. I get anxious because they're so smart and they're doing so well. Why am I so slow? I should be faster, making more money, solving problems faster, right?
Yeah.
Because the brilliant people that come there. So, which is why I feel you should stay connected to like-minded people. It really helps. That's my college now. I go every year, learn, come and implement.
And when we see such people, it always gives us things to think about on how we can build things faster, on how we can learn from them.
Absolutely, and they're really nice people and good people. They're all so ready to always share their knowledge, their playbooks. Most of what I've learned in the B2B SaaS segment is from them. So it's a great community to be in. And I wish there was something similar here locally in NCR because that's only once a year.
And I also wanted to ask you, you're building any idea in getting the initial customer, convincing them, and setting the price to a point where they are ready to pay that, and figuring out the right price point, also figuring out your market. How did you actually solve those and got the initial customers?
Initially, it was very like hit and trial. We created plans and randomly priced them based on what we thought was affordable or whatever. And it was customers who tell us, no, this is expensive. No, I'm not going to pay this. Can you offer a discount? Right. They needed our products, but at the right point. Over time, we came to a sweet spot. Now we do a lot of data analytics to understand what works. We do a lot of experiments to see, okay, well, let's try giving discounts on certain plans at certain audiences and see if that changes, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of feedback system like churn management that when somebody churns, we ask them the reasons and they tell us it's expensive. So we
Yeah.
gain all of these inputs to understand pricing. To be honest, earlier it was very hit and trial. I think a good place to start is to look at competition and what they are offering prices because if you're way off, unless you have a great brand or some really differentiating factor like good tech,
Yeah.
if you have that, then that's fine. You can price yourselves higher. But if your product is very similar to another competitor who's operating in a different market,
Yeah.
you should take cues from them on how they are pricing it. We actually made a mistake where we did not iterate our pricing, and then new players came in offering very similar offering for a very low price, right?
Mm.
We
Yeah.
lost some for a brief period because of that. You have to adapt to the market, right, over time because
Yeah.
your product is going to get like become like commodities, right?
Yeah.
New entrants will come in eventually if your industry or your segment is in demand. You have to align yourself with it. If you don't, you'll slowly become obsolete because of pricing, not because of product.
Yeah. I hear you. You have to keep your eyes and ears open on what's happening. What are some competitors doing? Are they taking away your customers? If the pricing is right, or you have to make certain changes to your product to introduce new features which people are actually asking for. So I think listening to customers in your case, you have been doing it really well.
So we have a dedicated research and strategy team. We call them RNS. They're just two people, but
Mm.
we set up these processes and they really invest their time to get all of these insights. That's their job, right? And then we take action on it. So I come from that same background. I set that up here as well because I know how valuable it is, right?
Yeah.
So even though from the beginning, I would say, even though we were a very small company, I've always relied a lot on processes, right?
Yeah.
I remember that when we were just four people, we had a proper performance evaluation structure, payroll and salary slips, everything. Some people in the co-working would ask, you have these things? Like, are you a real company? And we used to say that even though we were just four people, we used to operate very process oriented, just like a real company would, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That has helped us, retain our team members because they feel part of being of a real company, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
And because a lot of people does it when they are, let's say, 15, 20 people, then they start thinking about, people are asking for pay slips, so let's create something. So like very smaller things, but it creates a lot of difference when you start the processes initially.
right. So, I think you have to, even if you're very early, we created this environment of stability.
Yeah.
We had clear rules that salary would be credited at the end of every month, last working day, and we have not violated that rule in 12 years. People
Mm.
trust you as a company and they have confidence in your stability, so they stay with
Yeah.
you, right?
Right.
And um, I feel that another reason is that I'm a single founder, so I can't there's only so much that I can do or I can spend my time on. So I've relied a lot on processes and rules, policies to ensure that people are able to take own decisions, right? Managers and
Right.
all. Because I can't be there to take all decisions all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I rely on processes and structures a lot.
Yeah. And what are some current problems that you are solving right now at Trycon?
I think we are adapting to the AI age right now
Yeah.
because everybody now has access to AI tools, which means both internally we also have, and so does our competition. So does any developers who's in a college, right? So we have to ensure that we remain relevant over the next 5 years by creating offerings for our customers that are AI first, so that they are able to generate their assets, the landing pages that they create much faster, much better. Just the same way we can do things much better using ChatGPT, they should also be able to do that with our products. And second is how can we leverage AI internally to do more? We've not necessarily replaced any team member with AI. What we say is that we will use AI to do more with the same team size.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of experiments around it, and I feel AI is great at being an assistant, but
Yeah.
you can delegate a lot of tediousness to AI. But I still feel that a human is required for context, for intelligence, for constraints, right?
Yeah.
So, and that we really using it as an assistant. So that is one problem that we are solving. How do we adapt to this? Because what we don't want is a situation where our competition moves much faster than us, and then we become irrelevant. So we have to keep up with times, right?
Yeah.
So you have to align your team members a lot to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we're working on. We are also working on a lot of experiments, like I said, um, for the first time, we've considered moving away from QR code technology, right? And investing in products that is non-QR code because it just makes sense. But we're not going to limit ourselves now to one technology because we also have to keep up with times, right? So that's another thing that we're exploring, and we've opened up, I would say, more because of that. And so we're doing this experiments culture now where all team members are required to pitch ideas, initiatives, experiments. If something works, we then give them resources to build on it or implement it. So we're using our team members to help solve problems for us. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, like I said, there's only so much that I can do. So we have a smart team. Why not give them the resources they need? That's another thing that we're working on.
Do you want to talk about what kind of products you are getting into next?
It's still very early stages, so I'm not going to comment on that. But
Would
I would definitely say that it's a problem we face internally. We
Mm.
just, and so we are solving it for ourselves first.
Yeah,
And then if that works for us very well, then we're going to open it up to more users.
yeah. I think
That's how.
that's a great way to go ahead. When you identify the problem, you try to solve it. When you see a lot of people facing the same problems, that's when you start offering that to them.
Absolutely. Right. I think that's a, for new founders, a great way to start is to see what are the problems you're facing in your life and can you create a solution for it, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what technology, how you're going to solve it. The physical product, technology, app, doesn't matter. If you can solve that problem, then find 10 more people who are also facing the same problem like you are. Then show it to them, let them try it out, let them give you feedback. There's this
Yeah.
whole new thing about design partners
Yeah.
that you go and get people to use your product for free. You call them design partners, they give you feedback, you iterate it, your products get to product market fit early,
Yeah.
and then grow from there. So uh, that is one. Second, I also feel domain knowledge is also very important. When we started, we knew nothing about marketing or our product is very closely related to marketing because QR codes grow on print marketing. At that
Yeah.
time we knew nothing, right? We've learned a lot over the years. I feel somebody who is in a job in an industry like banking or retail or CPG, right?
Yeah.
And they know their industry in and out, and they know what problems those industries are facing,
Yeah.
right? And if they have the risk capacity to quit their job and start something in that industry and provide a solution to those problems, there's nothing like it. Because you are so close to your industry, you know your problems, and you'll quickly find even your own company as the first customer because they also have the same problem, right? And they already know you, right? A lot of founders who start in their 30s and 40s go this way, right? And they grow very quickly because they have great domain knowledge.
Yeah. That was really interesting when you mentioned that you were not from marketing, but over the period you have learned it. For founders, because when anyone is starting, they might be good at tech or they might be good at marketing. It's very rare when a person is just starting at very early stages, not a person in the industry for good 15, 20 years. So not so much experienced in all the domains. How do they get to learn these? Because you have to understand marketing, sales, all the domains in order to run your company profitably.
So you have to act like a consultant, right? When we were in consulting, we would get a project from a random industry, right? And then we had to quickly learn everything about that industry, the competition, the products, the strategies, everything, put it all together, understand our client's business, and then tell them what to do. I'm fresh out of college. I maybe have 1 or 2 years of experience, and my job is to tell executives who have been part of that industries for 20, 30 years on what to do, right? So that's how consultants operate. So even if you've entered into a product or industry and you know nothing about it, act like
Yeah,
a consultant, go and do your homework, go and read, talk to 20 people in that industry,
yeah,
understand from them, learn from them. It is possible. You can learn, but it would be infinitely better if you were already part of that industry and have 10, 15 years of experience. For example, Ashni Grover started Bharat Pay because he had experience in Kotak, right? He was in Kotak earlier. He had years of experience in banking. So he knew how to navigate through regulatory. compliances and everything in banking and finance, which is the most difficult thing to do. It does help if you know your stuff, right?
Absolutely. What was that pivot point for you and your whole journey that changed everything forever?
I would probably mention two, right? I think in early stages, we had started as a three-member, which is the ideal number, three founders, right? Two of them were tech, I was non-tech. It was a good balance, good everything.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were doing fine, everything was growing. But I think the exit really changed things a lot. There was a software company with no tech team, right? Was a big risk. And we already had paying customers, good clients. The responsibility of those customers and their assets also came to me. I feel in hindsight, if I look at it, I think it happened for the best because this gave me, I would say, it enabled me to take decisions faster. Earlier, we were acting as three co founders. There was no CEO, no authority. We were all equal shareholders. Everything was very democratic. They were tech co founders. I couldn't meddle into their work because I had no say because I didn't know how to code, right? But when it comes to non-tech, everybody thinks that they know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that ये तो कोई भी कर लेगा, right? So when it came to things non-tech, there was a lot of democracy, like right side. So this is I'm not kidding. There was a case that we took votes on what we should do. To me, that makes no sense because I feel, you know, you take care of what you are good at. Let me take care of what I'm good at, right?
Exactly.
And there
Yeah.
should be some authority. Otherwise, you'll just there'll be no decisions taken, there'll be analysis paralysis, and we'll not move forward, right?
Yeah.
So I think that really helped because I could take my own decisions. So decisions were faster. I could hire team members. I could, build a team. It is difficult for sure. You know, the successful founder we met said that running a company with a single founder is 100x tougher to do, right? And it
Absolutely.
is it is tough, I would say, but in hindsight, I think things worked out well. We were still there when the real demand, which was a second turning point, we were
Yeah.
still about 10, 12 people in 2020. Not a big team, still small, decent revenue, profitable. But then when COVID hit, that's when the demand for this segment really took up, and we were able to grow very quickly in a matter of 2, 3 years, both in terms of revenue
Yeah.
and team size. Within 2 years, we grew from 10 people to 45, 50 people.
Yeah.
So I think we were at the right place at the right time. We were lucky, right? But I feel if we had quit earlier, like my co-founders wanted me to do, we would not have seen this period. So I think in hindsight, it worked well. These are the two turning points. My investor used to say that sales solves everything, right?
Yeah.
So when this demand came and our revenue grew, we were able to enhance everything. We pushed out another product, which is Ticket Generator in
Mm.
2019,
Yeah.
and we were able to really enhance our culture as well. We did a lot of things, right? And it was fun. It is still fun. So I think that was another turning point. Then things got real also, right? If you quickly, 10 people, it's easier to manage. 45 people, 50 people, it
Yeah.
becomes very difficult. So we build structures, we build departments, we hired department heads, or we grew people into department heads, right?
Yeah.
So it was a really exciting time, still learning, but I feel this was enabled because of COVID,
Yeah,
right?
I have heard so many stories in COVID. People have pivoted, started something entirely different, and now they are doing seven digits revenue and really good sales and big names there. But a lot of people had to actually just shut down because there was no demand, no sales. They did not have money to continue.
We also felt the same, that it was very uncertain. If you remember, we had just given exit to our investor in March 2020, which was a lot of our cash reserve because we bought back their shares.
Yeah.
And then later that month, lockdown happened and
Mm.
all of us had to work from home. We had no cash left in our banks, and COVID had hit. So there was a brief period of very uncertainty where we didn't know
Yeah.
what was going to happen, but it eventually worked out in our favor. The demand increased, so sales happened.
Yeah.
We also went through that brief.
But I think that also gives us a lot of learning, even if the biggest challenges come, the biggest hard times come. Now we know how to go through.
It worked out another way because in 2023, I was able to buy back my co-founder shareholding also. So now I'm 100% owner. We're still bootstrapped, but we could do that because of this growth.
Do you understand a clean cap table is something that investors are very attracted to before they invest?
I don't know.
So,
I'm not very active in what's happening in the funding world, so
okay.
I prefer to do my job.
What next for Gautam personally, professionally? I understand you are building new products. You have figured out a lot of processes, which is keeping people happy. People know what they need to do. And you have great intellectuals with you in your team. So, personally, what's your next?
A lot of people ask me this question, sometimes teammates, sometimes people I'm interviewing, what is your vision?
Yeah.
I don't have a vision, to be honest. I don't have a plan. As a company, we have problems, definitely.
Mm.
And our plan is to solve those problems, right? And move forward, right? That's how we have operated for the last 12 years, right?
Mhm.
We have made plans, we have had visions, but we've seen that the opposite happens. So it's better not to think too much about it. We do have directions. We're investing in a new product as well. We do have all of that directions, but I think what is important is to ensure that we have an engine in place that is moving forward. It is profitable, it is sustainable. I like long term growth. So I want to ensure my unit economics, right? And if an experiment is not working, we deprecate it and go to the next one. And if it is working, we tend to scale it. That's how we generally operate. Internally, we do have 6-month plans. We call OKRs. We have that. But I think, and then we also have annual plans. But beyond that, I don't like to think too much about it. I think most of my time goes in solving day to day problems with my team. And I enjoy that also. So I think just keep the engine going and grow as a company, right? So what I really enjoy is that when our products, see, we still operate like a startup, right? Even though we're not, we're 12 years old. But when we start a new product and then an enterprise takes it, buys it, right? The feeling is great. That validation feeling that we get, ki our hypothesis that this is useful to this customer and we were able to build it, we were able to use AI to build it quickly, and then we were able to sell it, right? And they've taken it, they trust us, right? That feeling is great, and I live for that feeling, right? So I'm just chasing this, right, to help our customers solve their problems. And I feel if we are able to do that, we will keep getting success. We don't have to worry about our roadmap.
I think the intention of solving the problem, I think that is the base of anything that we do in entrepreneurship with product, with whatever stage we are at. So, yeah,
I would add one more point here, which I feel is important. So
yeah,
long ago, I did a boot camp with these guys only, the B2B SaaS people. And they had taken this 3-day boot camp and was basically all about cutting the bullshit, right? Like it was all about that. And as founders, as startups, we tend to exaggerate a lot or think in our heads too much, right? About a product or how great it is, how viral it's going to go, and all that, right?
yeah.
But what they taught us was to ask tough questions. Why will your product go viral? Why should anybody buy this? What is in it for them? That really shaped how I think. So over time, when we make decisions, I try to cut fluff and from all things, and I get to, I would say, the point. It frustrates my team members a lot. Like, why is he critical like that? But I feel that helps us keep things, uh,
Mm.
stick to what matters. Right.
Yep. When you mentioned enterprises, and I know for sure a lot of people, and with the sales cycle such big, and it's very difficult to crack enterprise as clients. How does one go about it?
So I think first and foremost, you need to have a good product, right?
Yeah.
And you need to be visible out there, which means you need to do your inbound marketing tactics, right? The best enterprises that we have closed and that work with us are the ones that found us. We didn't find them. They found us, right? And they reached out to us. It does take some time to close them because they're an enterprise, they have a process in place. Sometimes there's a shortfall in what we have and what they need. So we help work with them and we build it also. But first and foremost, you have to have a good product and you need to be visible out there. If you're not visible, they don't know. It's very difficult for a smaller company to go and uh, meet the right person in an enterprise. Maybe you can do it with a few people who are part of your network, but beyond that is very difficult, right? Especially for a B2B SaaS product, right? So, what the way we have converted enterprises over the years is having them reach out to us. It has worked for us. But yes, because startups that reach a certain level need to set up outbound sales and reach other enterprises as well. You need to build that engine as well. We recently closed one of the biggest casinos in Vegas, right?
Wow.
That was one of our largest deals ever. So yeah, they reached out to us,
Okay.
right?
Interesting.
So just build a good product, be visible, let people come to you. And then we have a good customer relations teams that takes care of all the conversations and everything, and they close the deal. So yeah,
Mm.
have that in place.
Great. So that would be a wrap.
To wrap it up, I would also want to say that if there's any founder early stage who wants to connect and have a discussion on wants to learn something or know how we did it, any playbook right that they need, I'm
Yeah.
happy to connect. They can connect, reach out to me on my LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect.
That would be amazing. I think it would help a lot of founders. I would also add you to the community where I plan a lot of events, physical events specifically for NCR people right now. I definitely want to do it bigger with time. But yes, that's the intention that people help each other. When they meet, I think it's a different bond and network effect that gets created. So that is the whole intention behind it.
Absolutely, I would happy to be part of that community.
Great. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, Gautam, for taking out time, sharing your whole journey, all the things that you went through, and how you cracked some major things like initial funding to getting co founders to giving exit to your investors to even figuring out a single founder's journey, figuring out and stabilizing the whole company, the departmental heads, setting the right culture with the right mindset that you have. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think this would really help founders who have just started building any product that they are, not specifically like B2B SaaS, but it applies to a lot of other products as well.
No, I had a great conversation, so thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Yes, yes, this was. So, that was all for today. If you are also building something, let's connect. Thank you.